computer to try to get my sin side, okay? If you can find it, you can shoot it. That's my motto. I have taken a lot of photos this evening. I hope you guys will remember to email your pictures to me, Snowbird at WSMV.com. I'll collect all the pictures from tonight and put them on my Facebook page, and everyone will dig it. Hi guys, how you doing? Now I wear earmuffs all the time, so I don't hear so good. Let's try it again. Hi guys, how you doing? This isn't a library. Hi Fairview, it's great to be here tonight at our first forewarned weather alert tour. Bum, bum, ba-da-da-da-bum. It needs a theme song, doesn't it? Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. I kind of like it. I'm going to work on it, though. I want to thank everyone here in Fairview for helping us get here tonight and give us this great auditorium to be in here. Let's give it up for the faculty and staff of Fairview Middle School. I guess we should start by inviting up the assistant principal, Tiffany McCullough. Come on down. Here she comes. She was back in the cheap seats.
Welcome. We're glad that you guys are here tonight. I'm Tiffany McCullough. I'm one of the assistant principals here at Fairview Middle School. We're thrilled that you guys are here. It's really wonderful and something we're really proud of to have a spot for our students to showcase their talents and things they're discovering and learning about and areas they're growing in, and we're just thrilled that you're here. So thank you for your time and sharing the evening with us. We want to invite you guys. Many of you probably came to our band concert recently, but on April 24th through the 26th, the Fairview Middle School Drama Department is going to present Dr. Seuss' Seussical the Musical. So we'd love to see you guys. Have fun tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much to everyone here at the school who's made it so welcome. You got a great dressing room, good grub in the back. Now I should mention the sponsors of our spring go-around here of the Forewarned Weather Alert Tour. First of all, Ascend Federal Credit Union. Yay! And here comes Natalie Hughes. She represents Ascend Federal Credit Union. She's going to tell you all about it.
Thank you, Snowbird. My name is Natalie Hughes, and I'm a Business Development Officer for Ascend Federal Credit Union. And we are so glad to sponsor Surviving the Storm. We want to thank Channel 4 for bringing it to Fairview. Sorry about that. And we hope that you will learn something tonight that will be useful to protect your family should severe weather strike. So Snowbird, here you go.
Let's give her another hand. Natalie from Federal Credit Union. Thank you so much for your sponsorship. You help us do what we do. We have two other sponsors I should mention. Hiller Heating, Cooling, Plumbing. Have I missed anything? Lawn care, tree trimming, dog walking. They need to get bigger trucks. They can't fit all that on the side of the truck. But they do a lot of work. If you need something, give them a call. And our other sponsor for this year is Sagby's Chicken. That's wrong, isn't it? I'm a bird. That seems wrong, but I bet it's delicious. I hope you guys give them a little of your business if you're hungry, if you got a toilet that won't flush. You figure out who's who, all right? Don't call Hitler for a sandwich, all right? They'll blame me for that. Well, it's great to be here tonight. You guys are going to learn a lot about severe weather and how to stay safe. And I hope everyone stopped at the table and got a red ticket. Do you have a red ticket? We're going to give away door prizes at the end. Who could use a door? Who could use another snow day? All the kids raise their hand. I know my constituency. Did you guys enjoy all your snow days last month? You're welcome. I'll try to do just as good next year. But now it's showtime, so buckle up, strap in, hold on to your hats. Here comes the Forewarned Weather Alert Show. Ta-da!
Still shows very hefty storms.
That's where we most likely could be seeing a tornado at this point.
Just look at this place. We've got trees down everywhere. All the power is out back there.
This hit really, really hard. More snow on the way to the mid-state. We're triggering another forewarned weather alert.
Thick layer of ice underneath the snow, so that's causing us a little bit of problems.
We need to be layering up, limiting our time outdoors. You can see pictures and video of floodwater, but until it's rushing into your house, carrying away your things, you really don't know a flood.
Other water rescues in the area. The rain is supposed to continue. Good Lord, which lead me.
We once again want to welcome all of you. Some of the pictures that you see there, that is the reason why about 8 years ago we started going around with our Forewarned Weather Alert Tour. And one of the big reasons that we're here tonight is we want to make sure that you are ready the next time we have any kind of severe weather moving in across Middle Tennessee. Well, tonight is a rare opportunity for us to get to meet you in person. You see us in that box in your home, hopefully a lot. Many of you tell us that you wake up with us and go to bed with us, and that's all right. We like that too. But we wanted to introduce ourselves, so maybe tell you a little bit about our teams, a few things that you may have not heard before. So I'm going to get the ball rolling here and start first with my partner in the evening time. Dan Thomas typically works our 4, 6:30, and 10 o'clock news on a regular basis. And Dan's been with us quite a while now, but you know, he was a few places before he got here. He actually started things in Boston. That's where he's originally from, and I think he's done a really good job of talking like a Southerner now. I've even heard him say y'all, maybe 1 or 2 times. But we are so glad he is with us. Now, he got his weather coverage going when he was in Arkansas and had to track some severe storms in that area. And he headed down to New Orleans for a time and was there during one of the most historic weather events ever, and that was Hurricane Katrina. And he led his station's coverage of that historic storm. Dan has also worked serving our country as a member of the Air Force, where he was a weather officer, so we appreciate his service. One of Dan's most recent accomplishments is he is a father. And he has 2 little ones now, so he knows all about it. He's got a little girl, and he's going to tell you, I'm sure, a few more things about them. He's got a little girl, Sadie, who's 2 now? 2 and a half, what happened? I don't know where all the time went. And then he also has a new little boy, his latest addition. So Hudson is now, who keeps him up a little bit, just a little bit, not as much as before. Not as much, no. All right, well, won't you welcome Dan Thomas.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for joining us. As Lisa said, we just so appreciate the chance to meet you for a few moments. Quick reference to my kids. A few years ago, when my wife and I thought of starting a family, we knew we wanted to do that. We knew things would change. I mean, I like to sleep 10 hours. Coming into work at 2:30 in the afternoon, I can do that. But I don't do that anymore because of the kids. And so one of her friends, when he gave us advice, oh, you're never going to sleep the same, it'll change your life, blah, 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 blah. One of her friends said, Dan, having a child will be like severe weather 24/7. And that, honestly, and now we've doubled it up. We've got 2, we're very blessed, they're both healthy, thank God, and we're happy for that. I want to take a moment now to introduce you to the person who I like to refer to as the Queen of the Weekends. And it's not Paul Hagen, I know that would be confusing, Queen, but it's Nancy Van Camp. If you need the forecast of the weekend, chances are you turn on the TV, you're going to come across Nancy Van Camp, and she's going to steer you right. She's been with Channel 4 longer than any other member of the Forewarned Weather team, and I've been instructed to say it's more than 15 years. If you get more detailed than that, you're done. I'm kicking off the statement. So more than 15 years, and she's been in a number of capacities, but obviously she's doing a great job as a meteorologist. She's got a whole bunch of training, gotten a bunch of classes under her belt from a radar company that we use as a vendor. She's gotten a certificate in broadcast meteorology from Mississippi State, and she's also got her degree in mass communications from MTSU. So she's got a whole bunch of schooling. She was on the radar back in 1998 when a tornado rolled through downtown Nashville. Bill Hall was there back in the day, and she was at the controls and guiding people through that huge storm. So a big day in our history of Nashville. Nancy's been awarded because of her great work in broadcast meteorology. She's got an award from the Associated Press, at least 1, and 2 Emmys, at least 2. But most proud is Nancy of the fact that she's got 2 black lab rescues. Ladies and gentlemen, Nancy Van Camp.
And I'd like to introduce to you the newest member of our weather team. I still think of him somehow as the new guy. Here he is snickering already at me. Because he's been here now more than 5 years, which is just unbelievable. Paul Hagen, of course, who does mornings, Monday through Friday, along with his dearly beloved dog, Dagny. He got his undergraduate degree in geography from the University of Denver, his graduate degree in meteorology from Texas A&M. We have found it in our hearts to forgive him for the Texas A&M thing. His first job in television was in Beaumont, Texas. That gig kind of ended poorly. It had something to do with bull riding, rodeo. We're still waiting for the full story on that. Then he moved on to Duluth, Minnesota, and Tulsa, Oklahoma. We're actually thrilled that he brings us both pieces of expertise from his snow forecasting in Duluth, Minnesota, and the severe weather forecasting, the tornado forecasting from Tulsa, Oklahoma. As you know, that's part of Tornado Alley. He's also won a number of awards, 5 Emmy Awards, he says, and then adds, but who's counting? The Associated Press Award, Society, he is counting, he says. The Society of Professional Journalists Award, et cetera, and of course his dog Dagny, very famous in her own right, has her own Facebook page. She stars for an hour every Friday morning from what, 6 to 7? Mm-hmm. Yep. And some of you may have seen her little paw stamp tonight. I have some of it on my hand. And on a more personal note, Paul, in about 6 months, is getting hitched.
He proposed back in June. She said yes, and they're getting married in 6 months. Please welcome Paul Hager.
Thank you, Nancy. And yes, we're more than halfway through our engagement now, and the wedding's still on. Haven't gone yet. I'm going to bring us back to where we started and reintroduce Lisa Spencer, our chief meteorologist. So Nancy is queen of the weekends, Lisa is just the queen. But she's an enlightened monarch, so we appreciate that. She does the noon, 5 o'clock, and 6 o'clock newscasts on a regular basis. When Dan takes one of his 15 sick days, she fills in on the 10 o'clock hour and all the other shows that he does as well. So if Dan's feeling about 95%, then she's there. Lisa is the Tennessee native of the forewarned weather team. She grew up just down I-40 in Jackson, went to college in Memphis, got her broadcasting start in Memphis, didn't stay in Tennessee for broadcasting her entire career. She's also spent time at the Weather Channel in Atlanta and in Raleigh before returning home about 15 years ago to take over what is now my shift, and then she took over for the late Bill Hall about 10 years ago. Lisa has, if we count Emmy Awards, Lisa wins. She has 9 Emmy Awards. She also is the 2014 Associated Press Best Weather Anchor in Tennessee, and is likely to win the same award coming up on Saturday for 2015. She also has a couple of, one rescue dog and one just mutt dog that you let live in the house, and kids as well. And be nice to Lisa because she's about to become an empty nester. Her youngest one is about to head off to college this fall. So be nice to Lisa and welcome her back to the stage. Did I do that? Okay.
Okay. No feedback. All right, we are so glad you're here. You know, last year we started something new, and hopefully you've heard us talk about it by now. We started talking about a forewarned weather alert day because we wanted you to be prepared way ahead of time. So when you hear us say it's a forewarned weather alert day, we mean something very specific by that. We mean that you need to take some kind of action, pay attention to what's going on to the weather that day, or maybe it's the next day that's a forewarned weather alert day. So whenever you see this slogan or you hear it, make sure that you are getting ready for perhaps some severe weather. Now, we said it a lot this winter. It is a forewarned weather alert day because we had such tremendous cold, and then we had several snow events, ice events that Dan's going to tell us more about in just a few minutes. But that's one reason you will hear that. And another is this time of year, we're rolling into severe weather season. Anytime we have the potential of seeing strong, severe storms across the area, you will most likely hear us say there's a forewarned weather alert day coming up. And that's what we mean by that term. We want you to just be paying attention to the weather and know that we're expecting something a little out of the ordinary. And that's one of our ways to keep you alerted of what's going on. We have many others that we're going to be sharing with you, but we do want you to be forewarned anytime that we have severe weather coming across the area. So to get a little more in depth about weather and severe weather particularly, Paul has got the goods on that before we let him go home and have his beauty sleep.
Which is always desperately needed. Clicker from you. Okay, I get the feedback mic. I'm going to hold it way down here. Okay, we're going to talk about thunderstorms and kind of set the stage for what the rest of the evening is mainly going to be about, with the specifics about severe weather, but to kind of give you the basics of what you need to know. What do we mean when we say severe weather? It's actually very specific things, and it's a short list. There's just 3 things that make a thunderstorm severe, which surprises a lot of people. After storms come through, people say, why wasn't there a warning? It's a lot of lightning and really loud thunder, and it just poured down rain. Well, lightning and thunder don't make a thunderstorm severe, they just make it a thunderstorm. To make a severe thunderstorm, you need either one of these 3 things: straight line winds, greater than 58 miles an hour. So not just gusty winds ahead of a storm, strong enough to do some damage. And 58 miles an hour is the threshold that the National Weather Service has established for damaging winds. Seems like kind of a dumb number, 58 miles an hour. Why not just round it up to 60 miles an hour? It's because for anybody with any military background, it's 50 knots, 50 nautical miles an hour. So once you convert that to the way the rest of us think, it's 58 miles an hour. So that's the threshold where the wind is strong enough to push cars off the road, strong enough to knock down trees and power lines. Even stronger straight line winds can take roofs off of buildings. And that's just the regular wind rushing out ahead of the thunderstorm. Within the thunderstorm, you can also get some pretty sizable hail. Anything that's bigger than that, bigger than about a quarter, is severe hail. Most hail doesn't get that big. You get a lot of pea-sized, maybe penny-sized hail out of thunderstorms, which is enough to get your attention and make you run inside. But when it's the size of a quarter, that's when it's big enough to start to do some damage, especially to your car, to your roof, and to yourself if you get caught out in it. It can leave a pretty nasty bruise, as most storm chasers know. And of course, hail can get a lot bigger than 1 inch across. You can get golf ball sized hail, you can get baseball sized hail, you can get this weird spiky looking thing that's the width of a $20 bill. That's really, really big hail. Usually our hail doesn't get quite that big. Dan's going to talk more about the specifics of how hail forms coming up in just a couple of minutes. Third thing that can make a thunderstorm severe, this is the obvious one, and it is a tornado, either spotted or a radar-indicated tornado. So spotted by a trained weather spotter or by law enforcement, or when it's dark outside or when the area of rotation is wrapped up in rain, the National Weather Service can issue a warning based on just the rotation within the storm as it's observed on Doppler radar. So that is what we use Doppler radar for, to give us an idea of what's happening internally in the storm, hopefully let you know before the tornado even drops down to the ground. So let's talk about severe storms. Only about 10% of thunderstorms in the United States become severe. So most storms, even the ones that get loud, are not real likely to become severe. All tornadic thunderstorms are considered severe. So regardless of whether or not they have the wind or the hail, if they produce a tornado, that's a severe storm. But not all severe thunderstorms will produce a tornado. That's why there's separate warnings for severe thunderstorms and for tornadoes. So how do they form in the first place? Well, we need thunderstorms to form first, but they need to form in the right environment for the thunderstorm to rotate. Most storms actually do rotate. We live on a rotating planet and everything around it tends to swirl, but you need winds that are strong, mostly out of the south. There's some variation in that direction, along with winds that are even stronger farther up in the atmosphere. That's wind shear, change of wind speed and wind direction with height as you go up. As the thunderstorm develops in that environment, it gets twisted, like you would spin a top because the wind is changing direction. And so the whole storm is spinning around, and as it stretches, as the storm grows, that rotation spins faster and faster. It stretches up, but it also stretches down. And if that rotation spins all the way down to ground level, you get a wall cloud first, a funnel cloud, and eventually if it hits ground level, that's when the tornado actually touches down. And that's when you need to be most concerned about it, obviously. But again, not all severe thunderstorms will produce a tornado. A lot of times this particular setup doesn't line up exactly right to produce a rotation that reaches low enough to the ground. The important words to remember: watch and warning, a couple of W words. A watch means that severe weather is possible, either a severe thunderstorm watch or a tornado watch. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, it just means that things are kind of shaping up the right way, that we're keeping an eye on it. These are several hours long. This is not when you go to your safe place or your basement or your bathtub. It's just pay attention to the weather. It covers several thousand square miles, so they're in effect for a couple of states at a time in general. A warning is what gets issued by the National Weather Service, and then it's our job to pass it along to you when it's happening. These are much, much smaller. A county, parts of a couple of counties. A lot of times for this neck of the woods, usually western Williamson County, you kind of get lumped in with Hickman County, the way that the storms evolve and the way the National Weather Service usually kind of cascades their warnings. They're not as long. So this is when you go to a safe place if it's a tornado warning. If it's a severe thunderstorm warning, just make sure you're inside a sturdy structure. 30 to 45 minutes tops is how long these last, just until the storm moves through and then we sound the all clear. For Williamson County, one of the more active areas for tornadoes. 32 total tornadoes reported all the way back since 1855, so we're going way back in the record books for Williamson County. One near Fairview, May 26, 1968, so we're coming up on the 50th anniversary of that one. Very brief, I looked at the date on it, and it reported as being 1/10 of a mile long and 10 yards wide. This is a narrow, skinny little tornado, but very near Fairview. 2 F4 tornadoes in Williamson County history. One back on Christmas Eve in 1988. How many people remember that one? Wasn't in this part of Williamson County, but that was a big one. And how many people were around in 1877? You've aged very well, sir. Another F4 tornado. And yes, there are Fujita scale ratings for tornadoes that far back in history, just going back and looking at photographs and reports and kind of retroactively putting those ratings on those tornadoes all the way back in the 1800s. 42 fatalities from tornadoes in Williamson County, which is a high number. A lot of those happened before the modern warning system was in place, but there were some fatalities out of that Christmas Eve tornado just about 26 years ago. Most recent tornadoes, there were 3 of them back on January 30th of 2013. That was a very, very busy early morning, late night, depending on your perspective. We had over 20 tornadoes that moved through Middle Tennessee between midnight and 5 a.m., and 3 of those occurred in Williamson County. Those are the most recent ones, so it's been a couple of years. Hope that stretch continues just a little bit longer. Tornado Alley, mentioned it earlier that I used to make my living in Tornado Alley, which is out to our west. We are not actually in Tornado Alley. We don't get as many tornadoes as other parts of the country. You want to go storm chasing? You want to see a tornado for whatever reason? I'm a storm chaser, so whatever is broken in my mind, maybe want to see tornadoes. This is where you go. Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma especially, they had some yesterday, and down into Texas. Now, while we don't get as many as that part of the country, by the time the storms make their way towards us, we're talking about nighttime tornadoes a lot of the time. We can get them any time of day, any time of year, but they can be sneaky as well. These states are very, very flat. Tennessee, we're not a flat state, so the terrain makes it harder to spot tornadoes before they're coming towards us. Tennessee is typically not a state where storm chasers come to do business because it's a very dangerous thing to do when you don't know exactly where the road network is going to lead you. It can lead you into a lot of trouble in very short order. So that's the basic on tornadoes and severe thunderstorms. As Lisa mentioned, I do need as much beauty sleep as humanly possible. So I am going to get out of here so I can get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and see some of you bright and early at 4 o'clock in the morning when we're on TV. Thank you for coming out and enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you, Paul. Hello? Yummer? Thank you, Paul. Safe travels home. Okay, we've got, now I wonder if he's really going to get beauty sleep or a catch to Kentucky. Don't judge me. Okay, let's talk about different specific elements of severe weather here. We want to talk about hail for a moment. Hail generated in thunderstorms. Thunderstorms are powered a lot like your automobile. You need some gasoline to get going, gasoline or electricity. And in thunderstorms, those are powered by rising air. So you can see the cross-section of the thunderstorm we've got here, and it's all these up arrows indicate rising air or the updraft. And so we've got a little experiment here. You can do this at home, a piece of cake to do. You just need a hair dryer and a ping pong ball. And this is essentially how hail is made. The updraft is strong enough to sustain and keep hail elevated at times for hours. And so this ping pong ball will float for hours if we just continue to do this all night long. Sometimes you can sneak 2 in there, and then when the updraft of the thunderstorm weakens, or that hailstone, that ping pong ball falls out of it, the hail might fall in your yard, or the ping pong ball might fall on the stage here. Now, hail comes in all different shapes and sizes. Thankfully, most of the hail we get in Middle Tennessee is like this stuff up and through here. So 1 inch in diameter or less. Some of this softball-sized hail fell in Tulsa yesterday. I used to live in Oklahoma like Paul. I lived in Enid, Oklahoma. Softball-sized hail will come through your roof. So just what an awful experience that is. But you can see roof damage here. We all know, or many of us know, that hail can cause a lot of car damage. All it takes is a golf ball-sized hail to really ding up a car pretty good. It can really trash baseball or greens. Baseball-sized hail did this to a golf green. And also can be a big problem for airplanes. When I was in the Air Force, I used to brief pilots on how to avoid severe weather, how to safely get back to ground when storms are forming. And of course, sometimes people didn't do what they should have done, and they probably got in a lot of trouble. Microburst, straight line damaging wind, it's all the same, but just synonymous. Essentially, when a thunderstorm collapses, what goes up must come down. And so when we have straight line damaging winds or microbursts, you can see the collapsing here, the rain shaft coming down, and then the winds fan out. It could be as high as 100 miles an hour at times. On the leading edge, sometimes you get a shelf cloud that sort of reaches out at you, and beneath that shelf cloud and behind it, winds are from a different direction and often very, very strong. You can see this is a forest that got blown down, so it's very obvious this is not a tornado but a microburst because all those trees are lying down in the same general direction. Lightning is 50,000 degrees. It'll actually hit a tree and boil the water between the tree itself and the bark, and superheat it so it automatically quickly expands and it blows the bark right off. So we call that debarking of a tree because of lightning. It's unbelievable. Sometimes when you're going to get lightning, it's very obvious. Hello, you wouldn't want to walk outdoors when you see this outdoors just outside the backyard because you could be struck. Sometimes it's not very obvious. The sky could look like this. It might not be raining, but boom, we've got actually some lightning that generates some thunder. If you hear thunder, head indoors. If you hear thunder, you're close enough to be struck. I take this to schools and talk to kids, show it to kids, pull it out of the box and say, hey, which one of you would like to light this giant firecracker? And of course, all the teachers' eyes get huge. Oh, yeah, it's just an empty cylinder, just teasing. It's got an extension spring on the bottom. It's got a tennis ball can cover stuck to the bottom. But you put it all together, and it sounds like thunder because of the vibration of that spring, and the sound of the vibration amplifies inside that empty cardboard cylinder. So this is really a percussion instrument. It's called a thunder tube. You can get smaller versions of this at Guitar Center over at 100 Oaks Mall. But I bought this thing in Hawaii. I found it in the store. My wife found it. She said, oh, what do you think this is, honey? And then I figured out what it was. And for the next 5 minutes, I think the owners of the store wanted to kick me out. And all I did was rattle this thing through until I bought it and left. So it's sort of a cool thing. But essentially, all lightning produces thunder. Sometimes you can't hear the thunder because the lightning is too far away. When that happens, it's called heat lightning. So avoid open spaces, tall objects, water conducts electricity. This is not going to help you. You know, if this is Percy Warner, Edmund Warner, whatever it is, a picnic shelter will keep you dry, maybe hail-free, but if lightning hits that, you're under it, you are done. So just don't think that's a safe spot. Inside a house is safe, inside a building is safe, inside an automobile, all good, because you're surrounded by some sort of insulation. You know, you've got an automobile is actually, you wouldn't want to touch a metal flagpole because if that got struck, you'd get blasted. But if you're surrounded by a metal cage, the cage that makes up the frame of a car, and you're not touching that frame, you're going to be fine. The reason you're fine and safe in a house or building is because we've got plumbing around the house, throughout the house, we've got electrical throughout the house, so if lightning hits the house, the charge would be dispersed around through all those wires and plumbing and stuff like that, and you're going to be fine inside, or very likely. Now, if you're touching a corded appliance, as we go back one, that's a problem. So you don't want to be drying your hair, you know, and if the house gets struck, you know, this may get electrified and you would be in bad shape. So don't do that. If it's your turn to do the dishes, don't do them. Fiddling with water during thunderstorms. All that stuff we just talked about begins with clouds. Clouds come from water, dust, and colder air, 3 basic ingredients. The planet is loaded with water. 66% of the planet or so is water. Loaded with dust. We don't get rain for a month. Wind blows, boom, dust all over the place. So we just need to make colder air. The atmosphere does it all the time. All you have to do is have rising air. The pressure decreases as you go up, and the air gets colder. Just the same, if I decrease the pressure in this can, this is compressed air, let the pressure down, lower the pressure, it will get colder. Next time you have a balloon at home, you know, blow up a balloon, doesn't have to be helium, you know, get it nice and big, and then hold on to it, but let the air rush out. As you lower the pressure, as the air rushes out of that, it's going to feel cold, that air rushing out. But I need a volunteer to prove to you that as we lower the air pressure, nudge your brother, want to come up? Come on up. As you lower the air pressure, it gets colder. It's a law of physics. As long as we don't change the volume, and obviously the volume of this is not going to change. So who do we have for a helper here? Layton. Layton, all right. Layton, feel this can and tell everybody in the audience how it feels temperature-wise. Does it feel comfy?
Yeah, pretty comfy.
Yeah, just sit up here on the stage. What I want you to do is face that way as you do it, and just hold down the trigger. And as you do so, air is going to come rushing out the little red straw. And go ahead. Don't stop until I say. So there's a ton of pressure in that thing. You use these things for, you know, cleaning computer keyboards. Already the can is probably getting cold. Is it getting colder at all?
Yeah.
This is a brand new can. If we had Layton do this and let all the air out of the can, it would be covered in ice completely, and you couldn't read the writing on the can. Shake it as you do it. How's that feel?
Pretty cold.
I bet you wish you had snowbird mittens.
Yeah.
Take a look for a sec. Now, you can't see it from your seats, but Leighton can see it. What do you see on the top of that straw?
Ice.
Yeah, it looks like frost forming on the top of it. So it's a cool little experiment you can do at home. Go to Walmart, go anywhere. Get a can of compressed air, it's $5. And I guarantee you can't let all the air out without mittens on. That's how cold it's going to get. Thank you, Leighton. Hey, we have a gift for you. Channel 4 water bottle. Enjoy it. Give her a round of applause. So that is a law of science. It has to happen that way, and it helps us make clouds. Hey, speaking of cold air, a quick recap on the winter. Winter last year was wacky. It was so cold. Winter this year was wild as well. It started off on Halloween night, 2014. We actually got some accumulating snow. This over in Crossville. Notice in Monterey, they got a few inches of snow. It was up to the 3-inch mark. You know, Halloween night. What do we get in Nashville and Fairview? Of course. Nothing. Never get anything. In fact, November, December, January, in the first half of February, we got an inch of snow. That's it. So most of the winter was a bust, and so this pretty much sums it up. I can't take credit for that. Our very creative morning meteorologist, Paul Hagan, came up with that, so I borrowed it. Thank you, Paul. But then everything changed in the middle of February. We got our first storm. We got 5 storms in 3 weeks. In fact, we got 3 storms in 1 week. This is Monday, the 16th. We got blasted by freezing rain and ice in the I-40 corridor. Clarksville, up toward Dover, got a half foot of snow. 2 days later, Wednesday, we added another couple inches of snow. We're out of school all week, as y'all remember. Look at this. This is my buddy's kids. He lives in Fairview, and sledding on the freezing rain and sleet. All right. Then Friday into Saturday, we had another round of weather. Notice we got a bunch of freezing rain. Here's Fairview, so we got, about a 1/10 of an inch of freezing rain. But notice the east, an inch of freezing rain. That's ice buildup, and that is the worst possible thing. Look at these pictures. This is ridiculous. How much is that? That's an inch. I mean, we got a ruler here, a tape measure. An inch of freezing rain. A complete disaster. The worst ice storm for Cumberland County in 20 years. 700 power poles were knocked down from the weight of the ice in Fentress and Cumberland counties, maybe one other county. 2.5 weeks after this happened, several hundred people still had no power. Just an awful thing, isolated mainly to the plateau. And then, a few days later, we had this. Big snowstorm in southeastern Middle Tennessee, Chattanooga, got a foot. You know, we're here in Fairview, we got an inch, but southeastern Middle Tennessee really got it good. This is Manchester. And then this is the really big one that gave like 1.5 foot to parts of Kentucky. Notice, Clarksville got a half foot of snow. Northwestern Stewart County got a foot or more. Cadiz, Kentucky got a good foot. Fairview, this quarter in through here, got 2 to 4 inches. So we got a nice storm there. This is Clarksville with almost a half foot on the ground at that time. So just a huge snowfall. So to recap it all, Cumberland County, the EMA folks says that was our worst natural disaster ever. All this happened in the last, say, month. What gave us the best sledding? And ice skating. We got a lot of people sending videos in of their kids ice skating on that freezing rain on the ground. So cool. Huge snowfalls northwest and southeast. Nashville ended the season with 6.1 inches of snow. I know some of you hope to use that last snow day. Good luck with that. But speaking of snow, we have our first trivia contest here. Lisa Spencer with that one.
All right, have a little fun with that. And I just came back from my spring break vacation, like many of you were on spring break, and drove through Cumberland County. Has anybody driven out 40 to Cumberland County where Crossville is? Is it amazing? The trees that are down, no kidding. So it was a terrible ice storm for them. Well, I think we'd all much rather have snow than ice, so I need a volunteer to play this game with me. Let's see, this young man, I don't think your arm could stretch any farther. All right, so come on. What's your name? Drew. All right, Drew, come on up here. Let's see how much you know about snow. Where do you go to school, Drew? Oh, so what grade are you in? 4th. You're almost over here though, right? It's a little longer. Okay, here he comes, teachers. I know we've got a lot of you out there. All right, let's come over here so you can see. Can you see that board pretty well? All right. So here it is. What is the average annual snowfall for Nashville? And it'll be pretty close to what you have here in Fairview. Now we're going to take this all the way back to the 1800s. Now we've got some choices for you here. Is it 2 inches? This is the average annual, so for the whole year. 6 inches, 8.5 inches, or your other choice is 10.5 inches.
What do you think?
C.
C, let's see if he's right. You are right. Awesome. I did hear somebody say 6, and you know what? 6.5 is true for the 30-year average, because many of you have lived around here for a while. You know that we do seem to get a little less snow than we used to. So the new average for the 30-year average is 6.5. All right, so let's see. You can have a water bottle, you can have snowbird slippers, or what do y'all think this is? Bank? I think it's a bank. Or snowbird bank. Which would you like to have?
Okay, didn't want anybody to hear me say that.
Good choice for you. All right, Nancy's got a game for us coming up here.
Okay, I'm looking for the person in the audience who considers him or herself geographically advanced. You think? You know your counties? Your Tennessee counties? All right, you come right on up then. This is Name That County. Geography can be fun. Hello. Tell us what your name is.
Aaron.
Aaron, and what grade are you in?
6.
You go to school here?
Yeah.
Favorite subjects?
Reading.
Okay. And you feel confident about your knowledge of Tennessee counties?
Pretty sure.
Well, we will figure it out together, and at some point, if we have to ask for audience help, we may do that. All right? We're going to start with county number 1 right there. What do you think that is?
Williamson.
Okay, that's a good start. Right where you live. Okay, how about county number 2, just to the north of Williamson?
I'm going with Davidson.
She's going with Davidson. And county number 3, just to the east of Williamson.
Rutherford.
Rutherford. This is a very helpful audience. This is the volunteer state, and we are volunteering answers for you. Okay, county number 4.
Marshall.
She has really good hearing. Marshall, you have a very smart audience, okay? We're looking at county number 5.
Murray.
And you are correct. We're going to have to divide your prize a lot of ways. Okay, county number 6.
Hickman.
Dixon? Okay. I always manage to do that at least once. Okay, do you know this skinny little county up here to your north?
Cheatham.
Wow! What do we have going on here? Oh, you get a snowbird bank. And maybe on the way back to your seat, you can collect a penny from everybody who helped. Thank you.
Okie dokie, our last game here. It is about random weather trivia. Who wants to play? Who wants to play? Looking for a young one. In the hood. Come on up. Come on up. This is very, very difficult. But I know you can do it. All right, my friend, let's see, what would make most sense? Why don't you stand here, and I'll stand behind you. Okay. Let's find out your name.
Samuel.
Samuel, cool. All right, I will read to you, but you can read along with me. Which of the following is false? I'm going to give you 4 options. 3 of them are true, and 1 is false. First option, in the year 1788, hail fell to a depth of almost 3 feet as high in Connecticut, causing major flooding when it melted. That's one scenario. 2, some tornadoes peel up the pavement of highways leaving just dirt. 3, the world record for rainfall in 24 hours, essentially one day, is 6 feet. 6 feet of rain in 24 hours. That's the world record. That may not be true. 4, Florida once had 3 hurricanes over the state at the same time. 1 of those is wrong. 3 of those are actual truths. Which is not true?
C.
The man says C. Let's find out. Well, A happens to be true. A actually happens to be true. It happened in Canterbury, Connecticut in July of 1788. Isn't that ridiculous? This is true. Yes, EF5 tornadoes will strip pavement off of highways, so people 40 right off. See? This is actually true. It rained, whoopsie, it rained 6 feet on January 7th, 1966 on an island in the Indian Ocean. So the last one must be false. I made that up. That is not true. But still, you performed admirably, Samuel. And for that, you get a Channel 4 water bottle. Thank you, Samuel.
All right, here we go. How many of you have heard us say, our forewarned live Doppler radar, the only live radar here in Middle Tennessee? That is true. And this is our forewarned live Doppler radar. It is in Williamson County, as a matter of fact, but not on this side of the county. It's on the other side of the county, near Douglansville. Way up on a hill on a farm. Looks like a great big golf ball sitting on a tee. But actually the radar is inside this protective dome, the golf ball part. And that radar is what we think is the most powerful tool that we have in our arsenal of many tools, because it gives us live real-time radar. So whenever we see our red sweep come across the screen, that is live radar. So let's talk more about how this radar works. What happens is our radar will shoot out a beam, and whenever that beam runs into something, it's going to send us a signal back saying, hey, there's some rain out here. Or it might be some bugs, could be migrating birds if it's in the sensitive mode, or it could be hail during a thunderstorm. So that's what we get when we send out our radar beam. We get that information back. And not only does it tell us if the rain is there, it lets us know if the rain is moving toward the radar or away from the radar, which is useful information, because if it's doing both in a very small geographic area, that might indicate some rotation, which in turn could mean a tornado. So this is the display that we get on our screen. Now this particular day, all was clear, but this red beam is our live radar. So when you see that coming around, that's what's happening right now. It takes it about 60 seconds to make that rotation, but when it does sweep across the area, it is giving you the latest update on what's happening. Now we not only have our live radar, but we also use the National Weather Service radars. And with those radars, we have 7 in all. So we've really got you covered when it comes to radar imagery. And I tell you, it is so valuable to have our own radar. Just recently, during a storm event, the National Weather Service radar went down. They had a power outage. That wasn't a problem for us because we still have our own radar that we can rely upon as well. And we actually had that happen during a severe weather event several years ago where there was tornadoes involved, where the National Weather Service radar went down, but our radar was still active. So it is a great advantage for us at Channel 4. Now, when we look at our radar image, we're looking for different kinds of signatures. This is what we call a classic hook gecko. And I guess you can see why it's called a hook. It looks like a hook right there on the bottom of that thunderstorm. That's typically where the tornado is. You've got the green, meaning rain, you've got yellow, and then red, meaning more intense rain. And then you have this purple, which usually is where the hail is located. And that's usually what happens in a storm. It rains, then it hails, and then on the back side of the storm, you typically will see the tornado forming there. And what creates that hook shape is the winds blowing into that storm, going round and around. And this little circle that you see, that's what we sometimes refer to as a warning ring or a shear marker, which is telling us that there are some violently rotating winds in that storm. And then our computer can also show us which direction the storm is moving in, and that is what this little arrow is indicating here. This was the 2006 tornado that came through Gallatin, and that did quite a bit of damage, and unfortunately there were some lives lost that day. When we take away where the rain is, what we call the reflectivity, that image I showed you just a second ago, and we can show you the winds. And the colors mean something. The red is the wind, like I mentioned, blowing away from the radar, or the rain moving away from the radar, and the green is toward the radar. So if we saw a signature like this one, we would think there's probably something turning out there. Now the storm is rotating. The one question that we can't answer for sure without someone giving us ground truth is whether that rotation is actually reaching the ground or not. Because remember, the radar beam is up above the ground. So we know it's rotating, we just don't know if it's touching the ground. And that's where storm spotters can come in handy, where they can tell you whether there is a tornado actually there. But we want to use Doppler radar as an early warning system. So if we see that signature, more than likely the National Weather Service will issue a warning, and that's where warnings are issued. It's from the National Weather Service, and then we would relay that information. But even if a warning's not out, if we saw a signature like this, we would tell you that this is a very dangerous storm. We want you to go on and take precautions. Now, not only do we show you what's happening in a 2D perspective, but we can also show you what the storm looks like in a 3D perspective. And this is Channel 4's 3D storm scan. And you know, if you see a picture like this and you see something sticking out of the storm like that, that's most likely a tornado. And sometimes a picture's worth 1,000 words. So if you see a picture like this, you're more likely to believe that, yeah, there probably is a tornado with that storm. So we think this is a great tool. Then we can take away the red part and just show you the core of the storm, and this is the hail. And you can see how we advance it through time and how the purple gets smaller. That's the hail falling out of the storm. So it's going to get smaller, and that's why you don't see as much. But that's also another way of showing you that the storm is quite severe out there, and how we can kind of determine what's going to be going on with that storm. All right, so we talked a little bit about that, but there are obviously some other dangers when it comes to storms, and Nancy has a little more info on that.
Thank you very much. How many of you lived here in 1974? See a little kid going, I don't believe that. 1974. Long before your time. How many lived here in April 1974? April 3rd and 4th, 1974. Anybody remember what happened at that time? There was a major tornado outbreak that included parts of Middle Tennessee. It made big headlines in areas like Xenia, Ohio, Richmond, Kentucky, Louisville, and Xenia, Ohio caused one of the most catastrophic tornadoes of all time. And this super outbreak affected 13 states, to include North Carolina, South Carolina, Mississippi, Virginia, West Virginia, Indiana, Michigan, Kentucky, Illinois, Georgia, Alabama, and Tennessee. It went, just to look at this whole map right here to give you the idea of the expansive nature of this, it went all the way from just north, it's Tuscaloosa, right there, all the way up to Michigan. And if we come in a little bit closer to Nashville and to Middle Tennessee, right here's Nashville, and you can see this affected areas, Nashville, or basically I-65 mostly, and eastward, on up into, the plateau and the Highland Rim, and on into the mountains of East Tennessee. Now, usually when we get tornadoes, they're coming in basically from Memphis, and they're affecting those areas over here, and Lawrenceburg, and Jackson, all of those typical areas got missed with this. And a lot of times people think, oh, if I live up here on the plateau, or if I live over here in the Smokies, hey, good to go, no problem. I'm protected by the mountains. When actually there is no geographic feature that totally saves us, protects us from tornadoes. Sometimes people think, oh, I live up on the mountains, so I'm cool, or I live down in the valley, so I'm protected, or I live by a lake, so I'm protected. There's no geographical feature that actually does protect us from tornadoes. These are some of the images we saw from that tornado outbreak, and overall, nationwide, there were over 330 people whose lives were taken, over 5,000 injured, over 148 tornadoes, and this is really significant. F4 tornadoes and F5s are very rare. They don't happen very often at all. In that 24-hour period, there were 30 F4s and F5s, and that's part of what makes this particular tornado outbreak so significant. In Tennessee, there were 50 deaths, over 600 injuries, and 28 tornadoes. Now, one of the tornadoes that happened in Davidson County, we've got a picture of it. Jerry shared this on Facebook. This is how it looked as it approached his house. This is how it looked as he left his house, and as it left his house. By the way, he was driving home on Murfreesboro Road when he saw this, and of course at that time, it wasn't like it is now where we all have cell phones, smartphones with cameras on them. You can just click, 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 click. He had to run home, run inside, grab his camera, shoot the picture. We don't recommend that any of you do that. We recommend that you stay inside and stay safe. This did cause some damage in his neighborhood, and fortunately his own home was not damaged, but obviously a difficult time for many, many parts of the eastern section of the nation. Now, here in Williamson County, Davidson County, Middle Tennessee, we all remember April 1998. That's the day that we had the downtown Nashville tornado. It's a bad day. How many of you remember that? That was a rough one. You'll remember, of course, that it hit the Hermitage and brought down a whole lot of those cedar trees that were planted right at the drive going into that. But here's what kind of gets forgotten a lot about that day. About an hour after that historic tornado hit Nashville, there was a big old tornado in Lawrence County, Tennessee. It was a really nasty one. This is how it looked at one of its strongest points. This, if it had happened in Nashville, would have been far more damaging than what we experienced. Fortunately, it didn't happen in a metropolitan area. Of course, we're sorry that it happened at all, even in a rural area. You can see where it started in Wayne County, went through Lawrence County, and right barely up into Murray County to Fort Fizzle, and it barely hit Giles County there as well. This took 3 lives, $4 million in damage, 75 utility poles snapped with this, and you'll recognize perhaps former U.S. Senator Fred Thompson, who came by at the time to survey the damage there. We talked earlier about how tornadoes can sometimes debark trees. It is, and this is how we know how strong a tornado is. We don't have anything that actually measures the wind at the time. We have to go back and look at the damage and decide from the damage how strong the winds were. And we know with the very strongest of tornadoes, trees get debarked. The wind is so strong that it rips the bark off the trees, and that was some of the damage seen there. Now, when it comes to these powerful tornadoes, and even less powerful tornadoes, one of the things that happens, I remember so clearly that day in Nashville, particularly in East Nashville, that was hit very hard. A lot of trees came down, of course. Those trees came down on fences, and because those trees came down on fences, there were animals, pets, everywhere, out of their fences, many of them with no collars on, no ID. And I gotta tell you, if your cat, if your dog is missing without ID, the chances of your seeing that animal again are kind of slim, very slim. So a lot of times people will ask us, we get the question very commonly, how do we protect our pets during a storm? What's the best thing to do for them during a tornado warning? Well, there are several things I can mention to you here, but the very first thing is something that you can do tomorrow. You can do it this weekend. You can go to your vet and get a microchip. Anybody have their pets microchipped here? A few hands go up. I would highly, highly recommend it. It can be the difference between a happy reunion and just total heartbreak. What is this microchip? Well, it's really tiny. You can see there between the thumb and forefinger. It's actually about the size of a grain of rice. And it gets put in right under the skin and the nape of the animal's neck. And if the pet ends up at a shelter or a veterinarian's office, somebody comes in and says, I found this pet, doesn't have a collar on it, well, they can scan it. And that scan is going to bring up your name, your phone number, your address, your veterinarian's address, your veterinarian's phone number, and you get your pet back. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing to just assure that you and your pet can always be together. It'll set you back generally anywhere from $30 to $50. It's just FYI. Okay, what do you do if there's a tornado warning and you want to keep your pets safe? We get this question a lot. Well, this is Dr. Kathy Kunkel in Franklin, Tennessee, and she has actually been the person, the veterinarian who for the State Veterinarians Association trains other vets about disaster preparedness. So what I said to her, show me what you do at your house. Well, she would take her smaller dogs and cats, put them in a crate. There's a tornado warning. They all go to the closet. And those crates are going to go on the lowest level. You don't want them up high on the shelf where they're going to fall. The larger dog, oops, that keeps happening to me. The larger dog is on a leash. And if you don't have a leash, your dog is going to get away. Oh, and notice this little pink item here. Not a fashion statement. This is a thunder shirt. How many of you have heard of thunder shirts? How many of you have dogs who are scared to death of thunder, keep you up all night, pacing, panting, barking? Well, the thunder shirt is, you know how you put a little baby in a swaddling kind of thing, you wrap them up snug, and it kind of emulates a hug? Well, that's what this does for a dog. And veterinarians say it works like magic. So if you want to try one for your dog, $39 for a gray one, and if you want the fancy colors, it's about $5 more. Okay, the key, whether it's just you and your children, or you and your children and your dogs, is to practice this frequently. These guys have practiced this a lot, and they kind of know. They know the drill. Hey, we go in the closet, we all chill out, calm down, and right there is a helmet, by the way. Lisa's going to talk about that a little bit later, the value of a helmet during a tornado warning. Now, anytime there's strong enough of a storm to create a tornado, you're likely going to get some flooding with it, as in flash flooding. We all remember the flooding of May 2010. This is some of the flooding in Trousdale County, some of the flooding at the Grand Ole Opry. You'll remember this? Of the more than 20 people who lost their lives in that event across Tennessee and Kentucky, most of those lives were lost not when people were walking, they were not in homes, they were lost in automobiles. And that is reflective of the statistics that we see nationwide year after year after year. Most flooding deaths happen in automobiles. For some reason, we just kind of overestimate how secure we are in a vehicle. We're in our big SUV, our big truck, our big car. We think we're just fine, but a car can really be a little bit more like a boat, especially when it comes to rushing water. So the National Weather Service has come up with this slogan that I'm sure you all know: turn around, don't. And it sounds so simple, and yet, and it is simple, And yet it is the very, very thing that can save so many lives. So we just ask you all to remember that. When you come through an area and there's been a lot of rain and you can't quite see the road ahead, you never know how much pavement, how much water, the pavement may be washed out under that. You never know how deep that really is. All right? Is that the end of mine?
I think it is. Lisa, it's your turn. You just wind us up and we keep going and going and going. But I know that some of you would like to get home tonight, so just to let you know, we're in the home stretch here, so make sure you stay with your red ticket there in your pocket. All right, one of the key things to be prepared for severe weather is to be connected. Now, Nancy and Dan and I, along with Paul, we can be on the air all night long, and goodness knows we have been. But if you are asleep, we cannot help you. So that's why we want to make sure that you have various ways to find out if the weather is severe. One of those is a smartphone. And I was just messing with my phone here, and on my little smartphone, I've got the Channel 4 app. Now, on that app, it has a great feature, just like our computer does at WSMV.com. We stream our coverage. And guess what? You're being streamed right now. This is our app, and we are streaming our program tonight. Don't worry, all we can see is the backs of your heads at this point. But this is a great tool because we stream our coverage when we're during the middle of severe weather. So if your power goes out, or if you're just in the closet away from your TV, then you can watch us on your phone, and you'll see what we're doing there on the air and showing you where the storms are. So that's one way of staying connected, and it's certainly a very effective way. We not only stream our coverage on our smartphone app, but we also send alerts on the app and also on your computer, so you can sign up for those at WSMV.com. Now, the old-fashioned way is still a good way too, a NOAA radio. How many of you have NOAA radios? A few of you do. Good, because even though we have smartphones, it's a pretty good way of doing that nowadays, of finding out what the weather is going to be, or if there is a warning out. And let me tell you why that really is very important. Because a lot of our counties have put up sirens, and folks think, well, I'll hear the siren go off. Well, those are not designed for you to hear when you're inside. They're designed for you to hear when you're outside at the park or wherever they may be. So this is like having your own tornado siren in your house. So that's why we still recommend no-weather radios, but I only want you to get the kind that is SAME technology. S-A-M-E is on the box. Now, that means that you can program that radio to only go off for your county. For some of you, programming a weather radio or programming anything, including the flashing VCR light that you've had for 25 years now, that's probably a little intimidating. But if you have a child or a grandchild, guarantee you, they can get that thing programmed for you. But that's the kind you'd want to buy. They're easy to find, $30 or less in the grocery store. Don't pay any more for it than that, because you can find them for less than $30. All right, maybe a little more with taxes. All right, another way is Facebook and Twitter, so everybody is connected nowadays, so we are giving you updates on our Facebook and also our Twitter page. Each of us has a Facebook page and a Twitter account, so please, if you do that too, be sure and like us or follow us on Twitter. Here. And they've got a stationary camera up in the corner. The tornado comes through, and look what the camera recorded. Yikes. That's the gem. So with that in mind, would this be a good room to be in during a tornado warning? No, because like the high school gym, despite the fact this is an awesome new building or new theater, we want to be in here because it's a big open room. So you want to be in small rooms. Small rooms are always the best. So if you can, get underground in a basement, in a safe room, somewhere like that is always best. But if you cannot get underground, an interior small windowless room is going to be the next best place to be. Some of those examples are going to be your bathrooms and also your closets. We want them to be on the interior, not on the outside walls. Put as many walls between you and the storm as possible, so you're building layers of protection when you do that. So that's why we want you to be on that inside, because usually the first thing to go away is going to be those outside walls. You're going to see some pictures of that in just a second. Here's the rooftop, which really is the first thing to go. This is Gallatin 2006. Roof taken off this home and off this home as well. Even if you're in apartments, we want you to be on that lower floor if you can be, because you're exposed if you're on that top floor. So that's why we want you to get away from the top floor and get as low as you can. If you do live in an apartment, you can't get down to the second, or the lower floor I should say, then at least go into an interior room. But if you can, get to know your neighbor downstairs, or maybe there's another place close by that's a lower facility, you'll want to head there first. So the roof comes off, and then the next thing is going to be those exterior walls. And this is a model of what happens during a tornado. These are the actual pictures. And it's picture after picture, where it's the roof gone, then the outside walls. So see what's standing? The interior, the closets, the bathrooms. That's why we want you to go into those locations inside your home, because that's going to offer you the best protection. If you're in a high-rise building downtown, let's say you work there, or you had a doctor's appointment downtown, or just for some reason you're in one of these high-rise buildings, the key here is to stay away from the windows. You may not have time to get down to that first floor, but you'll want to be in the interior room to stay away from the windows. In 1998, many people recall that a lot of the windows came crashing down beneath as well. So you do want to be inside. Even if you're not inside that building, you want to take cover inside that building or some building nearby, because of falling glass. It is a potential. How about crawl spaces? Is that a good place to be? Get that question a lot. And this is a home in Murfreesboro from 2009. Notice what happened on this conventional foundation. It slid. And we give it that name slider because of that. And that collapsed onto the crawl space. So you don't want to be there. That actually happened in Gallatin in 2006. We had some folks who took refuge in the crawl space and unfortunately did not make it. Where's a good place to be in a mobile home? There's no good place to be in a mobile home. Unfortunately, mobile homes are not designed to withstand the winds associated with the tornado, so they're going to flip over and over and over, even if they're tied down. So we recommend that instead of being in a mobile home, that you go to a neighbor's home if you have time to do that, or you would be better off to be, and I'm not kidding, in a ditch or a culvert, some kind of low-lying spot outside than you would be to stay in a mobile home, because of their tendency to go over and over. We're in the school, so it's a good time to think about, what do you do when your children are at school? Well, ask your school if they have a tornado safety plan, if they practiced it. I have yet to go to a school, and I visit a lot of schools, that does not have some kind of a safety plan already in place, and they usually have drills at least once a year, if not more times than that. But ask, be sure you ask as a parent or grandparent if they have a plan. Find out if they have some way of knowing that there's a tornado warning issued, either a weather radio, or maybe they have a system. And I know it's not going to be Carol Birdsong telling you that you're out of school for the day because of snow, but there's usually some other way that they have of knowing if there's a warning that has been issued. If they don't, talk to the PTA or the PTO about purchasing a weather radio for that school. But whatever you do, it's not a good idea to go to the school and collect your children and leave with them, because you're putting yourself and your children in harm's way if you do that. And I realized that in the Midwest last year we did have a school that was destroyed, but that is a rare occurrence. It's almost always best to leave your children at school, because they do know what to do and they do take precautions, whether it be in the hallway, or some schools have cubbies. So that's the best place for them to be, and there they are, practicing their tornado crash. Here's some kids from Murfreesboro. They knew what to do because they had practiced at school. This was in 2009 during that tornado. It happened when they were out of school on a Good Friday, and they did know what to do, and they survived that tornado. They were in the bathroom, as a matter of fact. When tornadoes come across, the violently rotating winds that are created act like a vacuum, and they suck things up, but unlike the vacuum cleaner at home, there is no bag. So they throw out all these things that have been torn up and blown apart, and they throw them back out, and unfortunately, that's how folks are hurt. or even killed in some cases. And so we call that the flying debris, and that's the big reason that we really want you to protect your head when it comes to tornado safety. So you can do that most efficiently by wearing a sports helmet, or a full-faced motorcycle helmet is the best form of protection. Now, I know some of you are probably not going to go out and buy one because they are about $100 or so, but at least use something to protect your head, whether it be a sports helmet, pillows, blankets, something to add a little extra protection. A lot of folks will say, well, what do I do if I'm out in my car? Well, if a tornado warning comes out and you are clear on the other side of the county, go on and get home. I mean, if it's not anywhere near you, you're good to get home and get into your sturdy environment there at home. But if not, you definitely want to find another alternative, because cars that go through tornadoes look like they've been in a wreck. So this could be an alternative for you. You know what that is? That's one of those tornado storm chasing vehicles. Paul says that's not a good idea. He's been in one of those before. He said it's not worth it. So we're going to do that. We're going to stop and go inside a sturdy building if you can. If you cannot, leave your car and go into a ditch, a culvert, some kind of low-lying area. And if you absolutely cannot do that either, people have survived in their cars. It's just your chances are better if you get out and take one of these other ideas. But you can buckle up that seatbelt and duck down. The cars will be like a mobile home. They're going to flip. So we advise if you go to a sturdy building, if at all possible. One thing we don't recommend is taking refuge up under these underpasses or overpasses, because they can act as wind tunnels, so that's not exactly a good place to go. By far, when it comes to protecting yourself and increasing your odds of making it through tornadoes, the best thing to do is have a shelter if you can, but they are very expensive. However, they do provide the best protection. This is an outdoor shelter. I've got several examples of different kinds of shelters. You can see how they've got the ventilation here. This one I priced when I was doing a little online research at $5,500 to build this one. This is one of the kind that you can have delivered to your home. They are tested to withstand the winds associated with a tornado. They bolt into the garage, or they can be put into the house even before it's built, or they can, if you've got the space inside your house, they can be put in afterwards. Just depends on the layout and the type of foundation you have on your house. But this particular one was $7,500. There are some companies that have them a little bit cheaper and a little bit more. You just have to shop around. I had some neighbors that did this. This is one of those little rooms. It has steps that go down it, and they've dug a hole in their garage, and then that lid pulls up. The roof just pulls over you, but there is an actual little room. It's a small room. If you're claustrophobic, it's small, but nonetheless, it is below ground. It does offer some protection. And this was $5,500 is what the price was on that. I'm from Jackson, Tennessee, and if you know anything about Jackson, they have had 3 tornadoes in about 15 years. Now, 2 of those came very close, within a mile of the home where I grew up. And lo and behold, my parents decided they needed a little bigger house after all the kids left. I don't know how that works. But they ended up with a bigger house, but on the other side of town. And that year, right after they had moved in, another tornado came within a mile of their house. I don't know what it is with them, but this time they were more prepared, and they had built a closet out of concrete blocks where they put rebar in it and they pour concrete in it, and they also have a steel door, and that's their master bedroom closet. So after you've been through 2 tornadoes so close to your home and doing tree damage and all that and affecting your neighbors, they decided to do this, and that's where they go. Anytime there's a warning, they go inside their master bedroom closet. But those vary depending on when you build those and when you do it yourself, that kind of thing. You can put supplies in your safe place, whether it be the closet or the bathroom. We recommend that a weather radio be one of those. You can take your cell phone, portable television. Now we have the digital kind. The reception is not as good as the old camping televisions, but they do work in some instances. Pillows, blankets, that helmet we were talking about. You can take a whistle to let people know that you're in there. And also shoes. And we don't want you hunting for your shoes, because you get about a 13-minute lead time on average with a tornado warning. That's the average for warnings, and then when the tornado hits. So, but we don't want you hunting for shoes, but if they're nearby, put them on so that if a tornado strikes, that you're not stepping around and all that stuff that is broken and thrown around during a tornado. Well, that's some of our best advice for you to help make you and your family as safe as possible.
I'm here with Don Thomas. My bad. Let me start.
It's all right.
It's Don Thomas. All right.
Dan Thomas.
Dan Thomas?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm here with Dan Thomas. How are you tonight?
I'm great.
That's good. Just want to know how long and why did you want to be in this business?
I realized I wanted to be a meteorologist when I was 6, so many years ago. I'm from Boston, so I used to watch big northeastern storms, heavy snowstorms, hurricanes even from time to time. I've got a cassette recording at home. When I was 6 years old, I said, it's rainy, it's snowy, it's windy, that's all the news, this is Danny Thomas. This is really what I wanted to do my whole life, and I haven't changed a bit. So going through grade school, going through high school, I did everything I could to sort of line myself up for this career, and I'm doing it, living out my dream.
Do you like working with all of your coworkers?
Great people. Obviously, we had fun on stage tonight, just picking on each other, and just a fun group of people, and we're just blessed to all have each other and be together as a good team that likes each other.
All right, Dan, thank you for coming out tonight and helping us with this.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, good.
Cool.
All right, thank you.
All right, guys, good luck.
Yeah.
I'll go up here. Pardon me. Broadcasting legend coming through. Pardon me.
I'll let you hold the mic because it's harder for you to talk.
Hello there, Fairview High School. Do you know this guy? Does he owe you money? Does he ask you for a ride all the time because he doesn't like to ride the bus? Keep an eye on him, all right? Don't pick up any of his bad habits. And if he's ever at your house, count the silverware. That's all I'm saying, all right? I'm kidding. Are you trying to ask someone for a prom date? Is that what we're doing here?
No.
Mila Kunis, give this boy a chance, all right? He just needs a date to the prom. Oh, it's not Mila Kunis. Natalie Portman, please give this young man a prom date, all right?
Okay.
Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow, just take a day off from the Avengers, all right? Give this boy a date. Will that help you?
Yeah.
You're welcome.
All right. Very good. I'm here with Jason, and he is I'm going to say cameraman?
Photographer.
Okay.
Yes.
And how long have you been in this business?
I have been in the business for over 15 years now, but I've been here in Nashville almost 5.
That's interesting. Do you like working here?
I love it. I love Nashville. In Middle Tennessee, it's great. It's the job is great because I do something different every single day. Today I was here in Fairview doing this, and tomorrow I'll be doing something completely different. So it's the best part about the job is you never know what you're going to do.
And when you do photography and you go out to these storms, do you take a chance on risking your life out there?
That's one I don't, because it's not worth it. And the good thing is a lot of times we go in after the fact. It's one thing our station is very, very careful about is making sure that we do everything right and safe, because our lives are obviously very, very important. And so we do everything that we can to make sure that we stay safe. And like I said, most of the time we come in after the fact. Once the storm has left the area, we come in to show the aftermath.
All right. Well, thank you, Jason.
And what am I supposed to say?
This is for Mr. King.
This is for you, Mr. King.
All right. That's good.